What is going on YouTube? It's Primitive here, bringing you my tournament run that I had yesterday over at Atomic West Games. I decided, since I didn't get other players' matches today, that I was just going to put this up into one video of one run with my LK. So up first, we're going to be playing against my good friend, who we both share the same name and initial, so we've bonded over that. But I'm going to go ahead and TK, and in there I see two Cutemon in there, and I know I have to take one of them out because I am playing against Imperial, so I want to make sure I have that Cutemon out to shut down their 5 Evo costs, or shut down their 3 Digivolve Evo, so that they have to pay 5. So I TK, pull out Cutemon, Digivolve, play Pulsemon, so they're going to go to 3 anyway. DC our opponent, go into Gorilla, and then go into Dino B, and I'll just go up to 3 with TK from there. But they are setting up for Imperial, but Cutemon makes it so without double Hammer Spark, there won't be any Imperial coming anytime soon, so I'm going to go ahead and go into Tori. I do have 2 memory. I don't have anything here that I can play for 2 memory, I do believe, without Digivolving on top of the Cutemon, which is something I definitely don't do. So I decided to put the Knightmon on there, so that way I'm able to set up to go into LordKnightmon next turn with the TK. I didn't really want to put the Knightmon on there, of course, because I have LordKnightmon in hand, so I'd rather prefer to play the Knightmon for free, but wanted to set it up, didn't want to play too passively. We see Strawbymon hits Davis and puts 2 Imperial to the bottom, so as soon as you see 2 Imperial go to the bottom, you already know you're in big trouble. Just because this deck runs such little megas that if you know that 2 of them are all the way at the bottom, then you're going to have a hard time finding the other 3, considering that one is a Nidhogg, and although it might help for 1 or 2 turns against this matchup, a Nidhogg isn't really going to win this matchup for Imperial. So put Knightmon out, and then I go into Pulsemon cycling, still trying to find a Knightmon to play for free, but I will just play Lucemon and recover up to 6. Hammer Spark will hit, and he'll go up to 3 with the Davis. The Hammer Spark there is a little annoying, but it doesn't matter too much. The only real difference is that I didn't get to... I probably would have put Pulsemon into a champion and maybe an ultimate, but for the most part, being able to develop Lucemon for free and get rid of one of the Hammer Sparks is alright. It's not the most devastating Hammer Spark hit. So we are going to see Dino B go ahead and swing, and we're going to Digivolve 4/4 into Imperial Dramon and draw with Takumi. As you can see, I do have a Slash in hand, so I'm definitely going to want to try and get up to that if possible. So I definitely can, if I go with the War Growlmon here, I can Digiburst, go to 0, and then I can Digiburst 2, putting Imperial down to 8, and then go into Slash and knock out the Imperial. And at that point, it would put me into really good position. So right now, what I'm thinking about is, should I swing with LordKnightmon? Because if I can Digiburst here and go into Slash and KO the Imperial, but if I do swing with Knightmon and hit the Hammer Spark, then the Imperial will choose to live, or will decide it will get to live for the rest of until the next turn. So decided, don't want to risk hitting another Hammer Spark. I'd rather just take out the Imperial. At this point, we're in such a far position that the fact that we didn't get to take the security check isn't that big of a deal, just because I know that whatever my opponent does is not really going to come back, assuming that I probably have Imperial or Valdararm in hand as well. So if any big boards come out, they're just going to get popped by Imperial. Valdararm, I keep mixing up my card names right now. It'll get popped up with Valdararm and Starmons. And then that was just me right there making sure that that egg was in discard, because I thought the Gorilla was in raising. I saw an egg on there, so that was just a quick clarification. So Pyledramon, go to 3, go to 1. I just noticed that he tapped for Takumi in there. I obviously wasn't paying attention, or else that wouldn't have happened, but no big deal. I'm gonna swing. I think I want to play Bushi, but the Takumi is making it that much harder. I'm gonna go into Pedo. My opponent will go to 3. Still can't go into Imperial for 3 with the Cutemon on board, so this is looking like a really rough position for my opponent, because they only have 3 security, and I'm going to have 7 swings going into the next turn. Sure, some of them are not the best because I'm going to have to pay memory with Takumi, but we do see my opponent is going to just shut that down and go ahead and Nidhogg. And so all of these those will go to the bottom. The Digivolution cards will get trashed. And then now I'm sitting at 3 attackers to his 3 security. I do have a Bushi in hand, but that won't matter. There was a little bit of a cut right there, it looks like, just because we were at the shop and we were probably having to talk to the tournament owner really quick, or the store owner. So we do see that I go into Andromon to give it security attack -2, so that way the Nidhogg can't threaten any security checks here. And the only thing that can take a security check would be going into Lobomon, but I'm not going to worry about that because there's no reason my opponent would go for that. So we're sitting here, we're thinking, my opponent's in a rough position just because the Nidhogg can't really be anything else. It's just always going to be Nidhogg. It can't go into Omnimon. And so if I just ignore it, it's pretty much just a 1300 hitter, which at the moment isn't super scary for me. So I just have to make sure that I can keep up with the Imperial Dramon because I no longer have the Cutemon, and I know that it's in the security. If I believe turn 1 I saw it in the security, so I'm going to give -6 and -1 with Pikmon, and swing with, or an Andromons will play Bushi, so I'm going to swing again, and then I'm going to play another Bushi, and then I swing with Slash and swing with Bushi, pay the memory with Takumi, but that will take game 1. So I will go ahead and go up game 1 against Imperial here. I do believe my opponent, yeah, my opponent does tell me to go first because he said he didn't want to brick. So pull out the Pulsemon. Didn't really want to put my opponent to 3, but didn't have very many better options, so better just cycle and try to find a champion. Opponent goes into the Lobo, putting them at 1, and then Davis to go to 3. Hammerspark, Davis, Hammerspark can't hit off the Davis. So as we can see, my opponent's Davis and Strabimons have not been the best, just because last game we saw 2 Imperials go to the bottom. This time we saw Davis whiff, which is unfortunate, but at least does have the memory tamer out, which is going to assist. I decided to just play the Sirenmon because, like I said, I'm missing the champion, so I can't get to ultimate. So the only way for me to get to ultimate and potentially get to LordKnightmon is through hard playing Sirenmon. So my opponent does end up putting me at 3, which means I can freely go into Lord Knight, which would have ended up not mattering just because, as we saw, or you could have seen, I did top deck the Hammerspark that turn, so I could have, the Blinding Ray, so I could have Blinding Rated up to 3 no matter what and played the Lord Knight there. So at this point we are sitting a little pretty. I decided to just Digivolve into a champion for 1 instead of hard playing a rookie because I want to start building up in the nursery. My opponent swings, top card is TK, which is super nice. I go ahead and grab Knightmon because we have a Lord Knight on field and I want to be able to play that off of the swing. And then my opponent's going to play Imperial. I can't stop it because I don't have Cutemon. They're going to get 2 checks here. Another little cut there, but that one was because of technical issues, but nothing on the board state changed. And this is right here saying my opponent's deciding if he wants to blitz into security or blitz into my LordKnightmon. He decides to blitz into my LordKnightmon because I was going to have 5 checks to his 4 security, and he would have to have triple Hammerspark in there for me to have enough security. So he decides to blitz into there so that way he doesn't lose this turn. But I do get to play the Lord Knight. I swing and I am going to play a Lord Knight, which is just going to solidify more board state. And then I'm going to play an Unimon. I decide not to swing to not hit Hammerspark, and I just play Unimon so that my opponent's only at 3 and they can't do anything crazy that could potentially swing over my LordKnightmon, and I shut off any potential Lobomon swinging. But right now we do have 4 attackers and a LordKnightmon on board, and my opponent just has the Strabi and a Davis. Yep, and there you go. My opponent does go ahead and shake the hand, so that is going to be the end of round 1. I will take that 2-0. Last check there we do see is Nidhogg. So with this being said, let's go ahead and get into round 2. This round we will be playing against another blue player, but as you will see, my opponent is actually going to be playing Hexablau, which you can guess with that play of the Pilgrimon right there. So I don't remember what my hand exactly was looking like right here, but we are going to Digivolve. I imagine, I think I go all the way up, or no, do I go all the way up? No, I think I had the option to go all the way up to Mega. Yeah, you see LordKnightmon. I think I was considering going all the way up once I saw how much memory I had. But I decided that I wanted to keep it because I wanted to get the Digiburst. The value off the Digiburst, rather. My opponent's going to go into Shikao, which does shut down me from attacking. I guess because I have security attack, I technically can still attack. But my opponent is going to play Davis, grab the Bulokomon. And as you'll notice, my opponent does have an interesting spot for their Tamers, as they'll play multiple Tamers later, which is fine. It's just always interesting to see what new players, or not new players, what different players use for their layouts. A lot of people have different quirks, and I like to see that. So this turn is interesting because I didn't promote the War Growlmon. I was thinking about wanting to just wait to get into Lord Knight, I guess, but I could have went out Digibursted and then played Starmon, and I would have been able to just clear the Shikaomon, and I would have been at a point where my opponent wouldn't be able to do anything. But as we can see, instead I just go ahead and develop Angelmon, so now I have 2 ultimates on board, which means that I can threaten LordKnightmon from multiple positions while still having War Growlmon in the back, which threatens my opponent from being able to play anything cheeky like a Vmon, or even if that Bulokomon decides to come out, I can just pop it for free if I want to. I am at 3 now, so I don't see any reason why I wouldn't go into LordKnightmon here and finally start getting some stuff going. We do see I draw into LordKnightmon off of the LordKnightmon, so that way I can go into it with my War Growl if I want to. I do play Lucemon right there. I can't swing in with the Loose, but I do get the recovery off, which will stall for time, give me more turns to swing, and knowing this will be a slow matchup anyway, and the fact that my opponent may be able to swing for multiple checks does give me just more time. Here I'm going to play Kotemon. I do hit Knightmon. I'll put Bushi Agumon on the top, I believe. It's normally what I do. Now let's see, my opponent's thinking they're going to go into Chris Paledramon and trash the bottom of all my cards. Yep, I'll go Chris Paledram, and that will render my Turi useless at the moment, just because Shikao will make it so I can't, and then Hexabao will render it even useless even further. However, this is what I have been saving the Wargreymon for. I will just pop the Hexablow right away by Digiburst and Slash, and then I will swing with Lord Knight, and I will play Knightmon, which will pop the Bulokomon, and that my Knightmon will swing over the Omnimon due to the boosts, and then I'll swing 8. Oh yeah, and then I swing, but I have security attack minus. I thought I just couldn't attack for some reason. I was thinking it was Hexablow, so I unstood it, but I did commit the attack. But I can just Starmon off the Shikaomon, so it's fine. So right now, yeah, my opponent's pretty much in a terrible position, just because I have so many attackers on board and they don't have Hexablow or Shikaomon anymore, which means that nothing is going to be stopping me from just swinging in for game. He's going to trash the bottom of LordKnightmon, but it won't matter. I will unstand. I hatch just cause if I need to, something happens, and then we do some swinging, but it doesn't matter because I will take game 1. So going into game 3, I do believe my opponent wants me to go first, or they go first. Nope. Okay, it was just the last round that my opponent had me go first. And so they're gonna go Gomamon. They're looking to play, and they decided to just Sora Joe. So as we're going to see through this game, there actually are a few fundamental flaws that I make in here. I'll try to point them out, or I'll see if I can identify them now like I did after I played in my mind. But either way, my opponent's going to promote and play Davis. Double Hexablow going to the bottom, because he does grab the Gabu and puts double Hexablow to the bottom, so that's always rough. Right now I'm assuming I don't have a Mega. Yeah, it doesn't look like I have a Mega, so I just go ahead and get a Knightmon on board, putting him to 3 and then 5 with Sora Joe. Gabumon Digivolve into Raising. Just a cycle and get something in there. I can tell right now that my opponent probably doesn't have any other rookies in hand, just because the fact that they did take Gabumon over the Hexablow. And then we're going to see another Sworjo. So this is already very annoying, and it's going to put in a lot of pressure with potential Lobomons later. And so here's one of the bigger, again, another misplay. I think here I'm trying to stay with the same strategy of last game, where I keep the War Growlmon in there. Once he plays Hexablowmon or anything like that, then I can come in and burst and then potentially slash it. And I just don't have any megas right now, and so I can't do anything super crazy. I'm trying to cycle for it. I do finally see LordKnightmon there. And let's see, what do I decide to go for? I just decided to go to the Starmon. I think that was a misplay. I think what I was supposed to do there is I probably should have went into LordKnightmon there, because I haven't been wanting to go my LordKnightmon into Ward Growl, because I've been wanting to save that 4k DP Digiburst. But if I put LordKnightmon there, the chances that they were going to be able to, they would have to have either Pilgrimon or Chris Pilgrimon and then go into Hexablow to be able to stop my LordKnightmon from being able to attack next turn. But I do have the Valdararm in hand, and so I would have been able to clear it there. And so go into Andromon just to get the security attack. I'm still trying to get a Mega on board. I'm still trying to find the memory, and this is where the misplays start coming, in my opinion. I keep trying to find the 3 memory to play LordKnightmon and swing on the same turn that I play LordKnightmon, and it's going to be hard for me to find that, and I believe that's what's going to put me so far behind, because I'm giving my opponent such an incredible amount of memory every turn with the Sworjo while not developing the main actions of my deck. So right now we can see my opponent's starting to build a bit of a formidable board, considering that Lobomons can come in and take place, and then Shikaomon just shuts it down even farther. Right here, I should have played. I don't know what I did, but I should either. I think I played the TK, but I still think I should be going into LordKnightmon. I play the TK to make it so I can go into LordKnight next turn, but as we can see right now, it's starting to look a little scary. And my opponent's going to have a blocker anyway, so it's going to be hard for me to get over this Regiclusmon, or however you say this Digimon's name. 2 checks and has hits the Lucemon. Shikaomon's gonna swing 7, hits 6 unfortunately, and then another TK. That's in my hand. He's gonna swing, and then he hits the Omnimon here, and that is game. And so that's, like I said, I did make a bunch of mistakes in that game by leaving the War Greymon in there, or War Growlmon in there. I should have developed earlier, and that would have been much better. And so I decided to go second in this matchup, because I do want to have the extra card and the extra memory in this matchup, because as you can see, my opponent did put me to 4, which means that I'm going to have an incredible amount of memory just to go ahead and set up. So I'm going to go up to Champion, go up to Ultimate, and then go all the way up into Mega. I do believe this is where I go all the way. Yep. So I just put my opponent at 3, go all the way up to Lordknight. As we saw in hand, I do have a Knightmon in hand, so we're just at a point where going into it doesn't really have too big of a downside, because I am going to be able to just swing, drop a Knightmon, and I have War Greymon in hand as well, so I have another Mega to drop on top of there, which will cause even more destruction in the later game. We are going to see my opponent just go ahead and go wide, which may or may not help them here, just because they are a little bit safer, because I don't have Pikmon active. So if I had Pikmon active, I would essentially be able to threaten clear 2 of these, but as of right now, I can only threaten to clear 1. I assume I promote here. I don't see why I wouldn't promote. I think I'm just thinking about whether it's better to play Knightmon or if it's better to play Bushi and cycle so that I can get more cards in hand. Yeah, I'm obviously thinking about something. I don't remember exactly. I guess I decide to just hard play, which is interesting to me. I'm not 100% sure what the thought process on that was. Why did I do that? I think I kind of remember thinking that I wanted to put my opponent to a lot of memory, and I wanted them to commit to go into Mega, so that way I could start to try to clear, do some like board clearing type stuff. And I guess the ability with Blinding Ray in hand. My opponent does end up passing, but I did have Blinding Ray in hand, so I did have the option to just go here, and I can put War Greymon on top, or I can put Knightmon on top, and I'll have 2 different megas. But here, War Greymon, I feel like is what's going to make the most sense, because we are going to be able to pop the blocker naturally, and it will put us closer. Yeah, so I'm going to Blinding Ray here specifically because I'm going to pop here, and I'm going to go to 3. So now I'm at 3 security, and I specifically went the Blinding Ray 1 because it plays around Hammer Spark. That's great, but the main thing is I wanted to activate both Knightmon, play the Knightmon and the Bushi here off of Andromon's effect. Oh, actually, I just decided to play double Bushi. Okay. Oh, right. So I gave the minus 6k with the War Greymon to the Shikaomon and then killed it with Pikmon, which allows my Bushis to swing. Is going to go ahead and block one of the Bushis, which is fine. I did want to tempt that to block so I can swing over, and then I'm going to go into Champion, and then I believe Ultimate with my Turimon. Or no, I decided to go TK, grab the other Bushi, which just threatens more because as of right now I am playing, I'm getting both Lord Knight and Andromon's effects once I attack with LordKnightmon. So see my opponent go ahead, go Gabumon. They're going to hard play Colamon to go up to 3, but as we know, that's just going to get popped by War Greymon, and so I do believe I have the checks to just win this game, considering that we have Bushi. Yep, so even with the War Greymon dying, it doesn't matter because we saw the Bushi off of the TK, so that will go ahead and take game 3. So that was a weird match. I did misplay pretty hard game 2, but we did get there in the end. So let's go ahead and go into the third and final round versus my opponent, who, as you will see, is also playing blue. So I will have a full blue tournament matchup today. This will be Imperial. My opponent says plays Gabumon, saying that they wanted to cycle it instead of hard playing, or instead of digivolving, so I'm assuming that means that they don't have the best hand here. I still don't know if hard playing there is better, but I probably saves them from having to put me at a large amount of memory. But either way, they do get the Vmon onto the Demi V and then go into Gorilla, which puts them at 0. The Cutemon is already out, which is going to be extremely annoying for my opponent this entire match. As obviously with their Imperial play, it's going to be very annoying, so I am going to go ahead and digivolve Patamon. And I'm going to put into Unimon, and then if I believe I play Kari here just to get it out on board. Yeah, so we'll play Kari, my opponent will go to 1, and now we have Kari threatening on board, which will have a lot of use in not only this game, but this whole set. As you see, we already tapped to gain a memory, putting my opponent at 0 right away. Opponent's thinking the Vmon's shut down with Pidomon there. There's no reason they swing with it, and so that's just going to sit there for now. So they are going to XV. The funny thing here is my opponent kind of almost half played the XV earlier, and I kind of saw it coming down from their hand, but they got hit with the Kari mana, so they changed it up because they weren't going to be able to choke me, but they decided to go with it anyway to put me at 2. Looking here, I'm at 2 memory. I decided to promote and then just hard play Unimon. So now I have 3 blockers out and a Cutemon, so shutting down the opponent's pressure super hard. Obviously the Dino Beamon does get to go through because of its piercing, so I'm not going to just let it kill over one of my blockers for free. So it does go through, it hits one of my War Greymons, but we do see Kari gain me another memory, so Kari's already gained me 2 different memory, and Gomamon's going to go ahead and go into Gorillamon, putting me at 1. I'm going to hatch. There we go. Unsuspend Kari. My hand is still a little bit awkward because I need to get to Ultimate into Mega, so I'm thinking about which card here am I going to turn into an Ultimate. I'm pretty sure because I need to start trying to set something up like that. The blockers that we have on board are good enough to handle the XVmon and the Gorillamon, so we'll just let the Dino B do its thing. Unfortunately, the camera looks like it's doing a little movement right there, so that was weird. But anyway, opponent at 2, we have 2 blockers. They have 4 attackers. We have 3 security. They can't go into Imperial due to Cutemon, even if they had Hammer Spark, and we get Kari to go put him down to 1. So as we've seen, Kari's pretty much activated almost every single turn in this matchup, as far as it's been on the board, and it's been extremely powerful and extremely useful. So the Cutemon and the Kari have been great for this matchup, which is going to just let me snowball further ahead because my opponent is sitting up, but they're not going to go into Imperial. And multiple times my opponent has said like something about it being very annoying or whatever, and so I'm going to swing over because I have Pikmon, so my Knightmon can swing over their Dino Bee, and then I'm just going to slash, which clears both Dino Bees on board. So now I have I have 2 blockers to their 2 attackers, and both my blockers answer their attackers, and so we're looking extremely powerful on board now. My opponent still does have 5 security checks, but I'm not too worried about with how many security checks my opponent has remaining, because once I take control of the board and I put up a couple blockers and have Cutemon on board, my opponent's not going to be able to do anything. So just chilling here is fine. It looks like we're talking about something here. I think this is what we were talking about Cutemon, because remember we had a little funny conversation about Cutemon and how it was being annoying, and then the Dino Bees left a little too late for it to come out. So my opponent's going to breath away the slash, and I'm going to go up to 6 memory, which is pretty insane. I do promote the Pulsemon there. I'm going to go into Champion, and then do I go into Ultimate? I do get the TK, and playing the TK here is like extremely important because I want to be able to get to 3. And so I don't know if I decide to do it first or not. He puts the card upside down because it has security attack -2, so I do decide to do the TK. It is extremely important here, and it's going to make the rest of this game much easier because I am going to be able to freely play Lord Knight, and I do, since the card was removed from my security stack with TK's effect, I do go ahead and just tap Kari to gain the memory, because I don't see there being a difference from me doing it there to me doing it on my opponent's turn when they attack. So I just tap Kari, put them at 1, and that will allow them to have less room to maneuver. And they're going to play Davis. Their only option is Tobiu, and they hit 2 other Tamers. That will go to the bottom. From here now, I think I remember right here I said, okay, here we go. Or something like that. I said something like that because I knew there was about to be a lot of things that was about to happen. So I swing security. I play Knightmon, which will kill Vmon, and then Starmon, which will kill Gorillamon. Tobiumon, check, doesn't do anything. And then I do believe I just play another Starmon to clear the board and just set myself up for pretty much an auto win next turn. Yep. So now the board's cleared. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, moved it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attackers and 8 coming out with the Pulsemon. My opponent has 4 security and only 3 memory to try to prevent what, 8 attacks, 7 attacks. So most of this is going to come down to my opponent hitting Hammer Spark and security multiple times, and not so much anything else. And yeah, I don't know why the camera was moving so much. I don't think it did this in any of the other matches, but as you can see, my opponent did scoop up, and you're going to see a little bit of a camera change right there. So in between game 1 and 2, while we were shuffling up, my camera actually did die, and I didn't want to just let the match go to waste, and so I asked him if it was alright if I just took 2 minutes to set up my camera, or my phone, to film the remainder of the match, and my opponent agreed. So it is a little bit of a weirder angle, I guess, because I had to use the phone tripod, which is different than my regular tripod, and but either way, we do have the match for you here. So as you see, I bricked the rookie, so I just go ahead and play Kari, because if my opponent's going to go to 3, I might as well play Kari. But then I top deck TK, so now I have Kari and TK on board, and I decide not to tap Kari here because my opponent would just go to 3 with Davis anyway, so it would be a waste. So now my opponent can swing, and I can tap with Kari and get that memory gain there. But being able to have both my Tamers on board now is going to be super powerful for having the memory gain that I need for the remainder of the set. So I'm going to play Cutemon, which is going to be the dread of my opponent. And then I do believe, yeah, I just play hard play Pedo. I do have the other Cutemon in hand, as you saw, that I was considering hard playing and digivolving on, but just to be safe, I wanted to potentially try and get both Cutemon on board as themselves and not Digivolve on top of them. So since we were going to go to 6 anyway, I decided to play Pedo just to threaten the Vmon, and also just develop a champion on board. I didn't lose too much. It plays really safely. My opponent's going to swing, hit Bushi, and as you see right there, there's that Vmon play. They were going to X Vmon, that Gorillamon, however they couldn't because I carried down to 1, so they had to go for a change of plans. My opponent is going to Sorajo. I'm going to untap. I'll promote the Cutemon here. There's no reason I don't. And let's see here. We have 2 Bushis, Slash, Valder, Cutemon, and Blinding Ray. So my hand here is terrible. So I hard play Bushis and my opponent goes to 5. That's the type of hand that I had. But I'm not feeling super terrible because as soon as I hit an ultimate, I will probably be in the money. And I do have this Pedo shutting down at least 1 attack. The Blinding Ray is nice too because if my opponent does get me down to 0 security, I can just use this as extra resources and extra memory for free. My opponent is going to Dino B, which will put them at 2. And swing, it will hit Lord Knight. I will tap Kari, go to 1. And let's see, my opponent here, they have Cutemon, so Imperial once again is decently shut down. So they're going to Kolemon on raising, which will be 0 memory now. And my opponent thinking about, I just noticed that they changed their tamer location, so there you go, the moving tamers. So now I can hit here and I can start using this to cycle. I can't remember, I think I can Blinding Ray here. Yeah, I do Blinding Ray here, I have to, because if I Blinding Ray and I tap Kari to gain the extra 5, which will put me at 2, which is important. If I do, did I have the Pulsemon? Yeah, it is important because I can play the Pulsemon this turn now. And so, or is this the turn that I do decide to Digivolve onto this Cutemon one of the turns because I do have the other Cutemon in hand, but I don't think I do it yet. Yeah, I just go ahead and go with the Slash there. So that's a very good turn for me, just being able to clear off my opponent's board and being able to get rid of their Dino Beamon or Pyildramon, whichever it is, puts off so much pressure, especially with the Cutemon on board. So as you can see, the board state that we've had both Game 1 and Game 2 has been extremely painful for my opponent, just due to the fact that they've had to deal with both Kari and Cutemon essentially consistently. Can't top Kari because I did it on my turn with the Blinding Ray. But my opponent also can't go into Imperial, and they can't Lobomon me right now because if they, well, they can play Lobomon, but it will swing and die into my Pedomon, so they can't necessarily take me out this turn. And with their Dino Beamon suspended, if they keep it suspended, it will get swung over by Slash. So my opponent's thinking, we can see the one card in their hand that we can't see is Imperial, so they could technically Imperial up to 3 if I wanted to. They are going to Lobo, and they're going to Tobiu, so they don't even go for the swing. They just want to go wide. So Pulsemon for 2, Pedo for 1. I was just checking inheritals, make sure there's nothing that would make it so I somehow trade. And then I Valderarm, clear the board. I have 2 Pedos on board, so Lobomon can't come in and get me here, and if they do Lobomon on top of their Davis, it's going to remove a giant resource from them. My opponent looks like they have 5 security checks left, and so they go Goma with the memory gain Goma. They don't have too many other options. Did tilt the camera right there. Unfortunately, the phone tripod isn't the best, so the movement is unfortunate, but we can still see the board, and we should be good for the remainder of the game, because as you can see, I'm starting to get pretty far ahead, which means that if I take advantage of this, I should be able to end off the match here in the next few turns just off of pure aggression. My opponent's thinking, they're having, obviously they're in a tight spot here, so they have to figure out something, and so they're going to go wide once again, and they play Sorajo, so now they can threaten 2 Lobomons, which is pretty annoying. But I'm going to swing Valder. I hit Hammer Spark. This was actually a complete and total Giga Throw. What I should have done here is I should have Starmoned and then Knightmoned. I should have played Starmon, killed, and then Knightmon and killed. And that was my plan, and I decided to swing, and I hit Hammer Spark, and it was a complete throw. I could have put it in a spot where I almost 100% won next turn, but instead now I have to Digivolve a blocker onto my Cutemon, which is not fun, because that means if my opponent has Hammer Spark, they can go into 3-drop and then go into swing and then go into Imperial, and the game's over. But as I see, my opponent doesn't have the Hammer Spark, and so they just go into Frigimon, restricting them from being able to hit Imperial Jamon this turn. So right now, as soon as I see that Frigimon, I'm feeling good, because that Frigimon is going to do absolutely nothing in this matchup, nor is it go, and it also just makes it so they can't get into Imperialmon, which is the main thing. So they did have the ultimate, but they didn't have the Hammer Spark needed, so I'm going to block with Pitomon there as they swing for game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 checks next turn with 4 security, but there is 1 blocker, so I can technically full swing in and win. But I have 2 blockers that will pay memory to attack, but I am at 3, so that is alright. What do I decide to do here? I have not the craziest of options. I'm going to swing with Starmon into security 1k. It's going to let it off. It's going to hit Omnimon, so it's good value with my Starmon there. And I was considering going into Turimon there so that my opponent wouldn't block, but they ended up not blocking anyway, and even if they did block, I was just going to swing over the blocker with my own Turimon to set up a board presence. Then right there, I'm going to trade because I'm able to give Pyldramon a negative 100 DP reduction with Pikmon, so they both go down to 600 and trade. And then I play Knightmon and kill off the Gomamon. And now, once again, we're at a position where I have 2 blockers, so double Lomamon does not win my opponent the game. And they only have 3 security to my 5 attackers. So it's just a continual pressure of my opponent's game plan from what they've seen so far is they're going to want to keep going wide. We did see that they had 2 Hammer Sparks in hand, so I'm curious if they had the Hammer Spark with Pyldramon on that one turn where they could have went into the Imperial Dramon, because that would have definitely won them the game. But I'm not sure because I wasn't able to see their hand, so I'm going to swing, and then I'm going to swing with Knightmon, and then I'm going to swing with Cutemon, and then I'm going to swing with Pitomon, and that is game, and that is it. So that is going to be it. That was my run at Atomic West yesterday, and I was able to win the event, which is good because that was my weekend of Digimon. I went to 4 locals and got 4 wins. So with that being said, I will see you next time for some more decklist profiles, more local matches, and if you enjoy, subscribe. See you next time. Peace out.